Hello everybody, I'm Tom Vasel and I'm going to be teaching you how to play Smartphone Incorporated. This is a game that's on Kickstarter as of me putting this video up. It is a game that's going to be in the Dice Tower Essentials line, which are games that I think are really fantastic and everybody should own. This is the first printing of the game, so there might be some minor rules changes and some component changes from this, but it's going to be pretty close to this. So let's take a look at how this game plays. Each player is going to have a company: Oasis, Suntech, Redberry, Atlantis, or Shooting Star. And with that, you're going to get two boards here that players are going to be using over the course of the game. An improvement board that matches your company, and then a pile of tokens here. We have some progress markers, we have office markers, and then we have goods markers. And you're going to actually keep them in this because the goods markers can be here or in this spot here. The goal of Smartphone is to sell the most smartphones and make money, which is going to be kept track with here. So this would mean I have 267 units of money here, so that trying to get a lot of money over the course of the game is what you're doing. You'll notice that players are going to start with different various amounts of money because there's a slight asymmetrical start to the game. So if you have a better position on the board, you'll probably start with less money here. And as the game goes by, as each round of the game goes, whoever is going to have the most money at the end is the winner. At the beginning of the game, each player is going to have a starting office shown by color. So blue starts in South America, green starts in North Africa. If you're playing with less than 5 players, some regions on the board are going to be covered up by retailers. So for example, Europe here might be covered up by a retailer. If playing with less than 5, if you're playing with 5, there will be no retailers placed on the board at all. You're also going to have each player is going to set their starting price for their phones at 5. You're going to have some technology tiles placed at the bottom of the board here. Each technology tile has 2 sides to it, so games can be randomized, although the technology tile will go in a specific spot down here. There are 5 rounds in the game, and each round has 8 different phases. Some of the phases will be done at the same time. Others will take place in turn order based on the players' prices of their phones. Lowest prices of phones will go first in many of the rounds, and then if there's a tie, you'll look at how much money players have earned to break that tie. The first phase of a round is the planning phase. Each player will, behind their shield, take their 2 pads, these are identical for all the players, as well as any improvements. You'll start with an improvement, and as the game goes by, it's possible to get more of them. And what players must do is take their 2 pads and flip them to either side of each pad, and they must take 1 pad and cover up at least 1 square of the other pad. You can cover up more than that. It can look like this, etc. Your improvement tiles must be completely placed on top of the pads like this if you want to use them, and if you don't wish to use an improvement tile, you can simply flip it over where it will become a good for that player. The different symbols that are shown that are face up in front of a player are going to affect each of the next 7 phases as players take those again in order of pricing. Speaking of pricing, this is the second phase where players are going to determine how much their phones cost. Players are going to look at their boards, and their base cost starts at 5, although each of these minus dollar signs is going to lower the cost, and if they have any of these plus, it's going to raise the cost. So for example, here it's still going to be 5, here it would be 4, here it would be 6. Players are then going to produce goods, phones that they're going to sell. The number of these good symbols that are showing are how many goods you'll produce. So there's 1, 2, 3, plus the number of squares that you've covered up. So here 4 squares are covered up. So that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In this case here, there would be fewer squares covered up, so it would simply be 1, 2, 3, 4 goods that are produced. When producing goods, players are simply going to take them from this spot in their tray and move them here. So if I produce 4 goods, I'd move them over here, showing that I have 4 goods that I can sell this round. The next phase is production improvement. If a player has this symbol showing, they're going to be able to take one of these new improvement tiles. Again, this is done in pricing order, and you'll be able to use these tiles in the future as extra symbols on your boards or goods. If a player did not play one of these symbols, then they simply take a small tile, which is just going to give you an extra good each round. The next phase is technology. For each technological symbol that a player has in front of them, they're going to be able to take progress tokens and place them on a technology of their choice. So let's say, for example, I want to work on this technology. I could place 2 there. These will stay there from round to round. When you have enough progress markers to match the number shown to develop that technology, then you're going to place one of your markers here to show that you now control this technology. The first player to take a technology will also take this tile, which is going to be worth points at the end of the game. Not only that, but when you take it, you're going to make the cost of that technology cheaper for everybody else. Technologies will give you a special ability. Also, they will allow you to sell more phones in the different regions. The next phase is logistics. For each of these truck symbols, players are going to be able to place a progress marker, just like the technologies, on a region that's connected to one of their offices by these black lines shown on the board. When the number of progress markers matches the number shown in the truck here, players will remove those and put an office in that region in the empty spot to the left. Each region can only have one office of a player's color, and this will allow you to sell phones in that region. Speaking of selling phones, that's the next phase of the game. Now remember, all these phases, the technological, the logistics, and now the sales phase, are going to take place in order of the priority rule, where the cheapest player is going to be able to sell their phones first. And so in this case, in each region, on a player's turn, they can sell phones if the cost of their phone is willing to be paid by somebody in that region. So let's say, for example, my phones are a cost of 5. Well, this person here in North Africa isn't willing to pay for my phone. The most they're willing to pay is 3. However, this person will pay up to 6, so they'll buy one of my phones, and this person here will also buy one of my phones. The other 7 people in these regions are not willing to buy my phones unless they have a certain technology. If I had the 4G technology, for example, then I could sell a phone to each of these players here. Once there is a token on top of these spaces that no one else can sell there. So if there were multiple people in a region, let's say North Africa is here and he was selling his phones for 7, I might be able to beat him, but he might have better battery life technology, so he could sell at least 1 phone there. Players are then going to sell all the goods, the phones that they have on the board. You're simply just going to take the number of cubes you have and multiply them by the cost. So in case this was green and the cost was 5, this would be 5, 10, 15, 20. Also, each region is going to give a bonus depending on how many offices are in the region. For example, this region has 2 offices, so whoever sells the most phones is going to get 3 bonus, and in this region 1 bonus. As you build farther and farther, let's say for example red had an office here, then first and second place would get a bonus. These bonuses are going to be marked on the sheet here, and players are going to keep track of their money and remove their goods from the board. Any goods that are left over are unsold and put back in here unless you have one of the technologies that allows you to keep goods from round to round, and you go to the next phase. After the 5th round of the game, whoever has the most money is the winner. The different technology tiles are not only going to allow you to sell phones in different regions, but will also give you special abilities. For example, here, this makes all your technologies cheaper. This lets you build second offices in areas. This gives you extra logistics for those symbols. This lets you place your tiles, your improvement tiles, slightly off of your pad. And from game to game, these different special abilities will be different. For example, here, if you don't sell your cell phones, you'll get to keep them for the next round. Retail outlets, which are used in games with less than 5 players, you can't sell phones in these areas, but the first person to build an office in these areas is going to score bonus points, and they often give you a special ability as you place these out. The game also comes with Steve, where you can play a solo version of the game, or even use Steve as an artificial intelligence and play him as an extra player if you're playing with less than 5 players. And that's how you play Smartphone. I've done a review of Smartphone. You can check it out on the Dice Tower and see what I think of the game. Short answer, I think it's fantastic. Hopefully this gives you some idea of how to play the game. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and this has been How to Play Smartphone Incorporated.